Earth's Mightiest Hero, Captain Marvel, Issue 1.
An all-new high-flying series by Kelly Sue DeConnick, Dexter Soy, cover by Ed McGuinness.
July 2012, hashtag Captain Marvel. Marvel! Welcome, dear listener, to our podcast. Jeff and Rick present Unpacking the Power of Power Pack,
where we journey through each issue of comics that include a member of the most underrated Marvel series from the 80s while drinking beer.
Analyzing awesome and amazing adjacent adolescent adventures and absorbing alcohol.
I am Jeff.
And I am Rick.
Random banter is defined by political scientist Robert Dahl as a banter in which coercion is comparatively uncommon. Random banter time, buddy. Talk to me, tell me tall tales and tantalizing tidbits of trivia today.
Is that a political statement of some kind?
It is a free election.
There we go. Free elections. Ah, yes. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Voice of the people is the voice of the dog. I mean, God. Whatever.
So close.
Yeah, so close. Anyways, still West Wing, like I normally do. Yes, we are going to be talking some politics. We're going to be talking about some free elections. And we are not talking about the current state of our country. Although, maybe we are. I don't know. We'll get to that in a bit. But let's random the banter a little bit. Jeff. Even though it's summer and we try to get outdoors when we can, my family likes to sit around the house and we do like to just veg. We like to turn on the TV and see what hits us. Well, I went ahead and set the old time machine on the TV back a few decades here and there. And my family and I are watching some older throwback shows. Mm-hmm. We have introduced my daughter to Smallville.
That's fantastic. A couple of years ago, I said, you know what? I hadn't seen the last 3 seasons of this, so I had gotten them from the library, and I had watched them, and I said, this show had taken a different direction.
I was a half-hearted fan. My best friend really liked the show, and so I kind of watched it with him. I think he stopped watching with me because the sound of my rolling eyes and my, oh, come on, get together with a storyline or a plot or something. Oh, no, Lana has gone unconscious again. Oh, no, she is the damsel in distress again. He got tired of me complaining about it, so I didn't see a lot of it. I liked it well enough. I just thought it was a little insipid, but I decided I want to show my daughter this show. It took her less than the first episode before she started mocking it the same way I used to mock it. Now I think that our family is watching it out of spite. I don't know. We're watching it and we're enjoying it, but we're at the same time, we're just like, we are mocking it. Now, that being said, I will say that there are some definite standouts in the show. I mean, John Snyder as Jonathan Kent, I like him. I think he has great direction with
great choice.
How Pa Kent and how that entire relationship works. Of course, Michael Rosenblum, his Lex Luthor is amazing, and I really just good. Dig it. And you know, Tom Welling, he kind of plays the shucks pretty well. I remember back in the day liking Allison Mack. Now I look at her on screen and I'm like,
yeah, I know. That's the hardship on that one, because Allison became my favorite character. Just she perpetually was like, yeah, she's the one. She's the good one. I like her.
And now we just, yeah. So anyways, so we're watching that and we're mocking that. Now, same time, my wife and I, at night after the kid goes to bed, I introduced my wife to something back from the early 80s, and it is blowing her mind. I showed her Moonlighting.
I never got into Moonlighting.
You need to check it out. It is actually really good, and it is amazing seeing a fledgling Bruce Willis flapping his little wings and learning to fly, and he's flying pretty well from the early episodes. It is fun. It is a goofy, kooky little show, and it just gets weirder and weirder as it goes on. And my wife's like, this is funny. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason why it was the darling of the time. But it's fun revisiting some of those old TV shows that have various level of quality.
Yeah.
So that is what me and my family are doing. What is you and your family doing to perpetuate the lovely, lovely metasphere of geekdom that we have at our fingertips?
Well, not watching anything with the family, but let's talk about an alkalite in the room. Have you been watching Alkalite?
I have. We have this week's episode to go and whatever next week's. I think we might wait for these two to show up.
Yep. I haven't seen the last episode, so I think we're in the exact same lineup of that. What are you thinking about it?
Hit or miss?
Yes.
I really dug the obliteration of all the Jedi that came. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty neat.
I like the idea of... I like the actor who's playing the Sith Lord. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job with that.
I like the main actress. I think she's doing an amazing job playing two roles at once. That's hard to do, and I think she should be getting double pay.
Yeah, not even a spoiler, because they talk about that pretty much from the get-go, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like there's some things that are missing in it. I think they're missing some really good opportunities. You got a Wookiee that can do Jedi stuff, and you don't show it?
Yeah.
You've got Carrie-Ann Moss in there, and you chuck her to the side. You've got some good storylines that build up there. There's some good intrigue going on, and it just kind of peters off. So, yeah, I don't know.
As soon as I started watching it, I was very much just like, I don't know what people are complaining about. They may not understand. This is a kung fu film. This is a person seeking kung fu revenge. And then I'm totally down with that. And I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, that's what this is. And then it kind of starts veering around. I'm like, oh, okay, now we're getting into the past, and we're doing, okay. And I'm enjoying it, but like you were saying, it is hit or miss, where there are the definite spots where you're like, this is really cool. Now it's kind of going somewhere else. So I want to give it the benefit of the doubt right now and say that it is meandering around to hit the final of the story where it ties all together kind of stuff. Because I'm like, there is a mystery there that isn't being covered, but if there's not the mystery there, then a lot of this has no reason to be going on. So there's just these kind of different feels on it. I want to see the next two episodes. I want to ride the series out. I think what's neat about it is neat.
Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting. They've gone to different places besides Tatooine. Nobody has said the word Skywalker or Darth anywhere at all. They've never mentioned a Death Star. I love that aspect of it. I'm like, fantastic. There's more to the universe than the one family tree. So wonderful. Fantastic.
I'm also really enjoying the fact that since it's during the heyday of the Jedi, you can now have disposable Jedi, and it's not too big a deal. So it's cool that way.
I do think that on the whole, the Jedi are jerks, and they are a police state. So that's nice.
But that's what I've been doing for some of my geekdom.
All right. That sounds good to me. Let's shift gears. Let's shift a lot of gears. In fact, let's just get out and tie down the front and back wheels of the car, because we're on a whole new track. We are out of the Avengers Academy. We're back with the Fantastic Four. We're going to be hitting the FF. We're going to be hitting Fantastic Four. We are back with a whole bunch of kids that we don't know anything about, as opposed to before, where we were with a whole bunch of kids that we knew a lot about. So, yay! Let's get back into it. But before we do that, Jeff, how did we leave off?
Hazmat and Metal smooch while Julie and Carolina smooch while Brandon and new never-to-be-seen-again character Jonathan smooch while Reptile and White Tiger almost smooch on the beach but are interrupted by a sad sack Finesse who is sad because her life choices are catching up to her in a deservedly negative way. Also, most of the main cast of characters are getting promoted due to all their good deeds and are going to get to do a non-evil Jeremy Briggs-like charity work of their choosing while continuing to work steady their way up to becoming full-fledged Avengers. Now that the Vale gets unsubscribed to the Avengers due to being unpowered and underage, so she goes back to high school where she beats up some bullies. 2-sentence replay is over. Why don't you give me a beer and tell us what our Power Pack pick is?
My pleasure. My friend, I want you to reach into that brown paper bag, pull the lever that you're going to find inside, and open the magical
beer, which is Worthy from Bend, Oregon, Cosmic Portal Cocoa Porter with added cocoa nibs. Very nice. That is a star party with purple skies. Oh, there's an actual star party because there's a family pointing at space and having a little telescope and looking at the stars, and the dad's explaining stuff to the kids. That's really nice. That's really cool. That is a thing that I've done in Bend, Oregon before, so that's kind of cool.
Mansplain things to kids? Yeah, I can see that.
Obviously. Yeah, also looking at stars. I used to have a friend that ran the observatory up at Pine Mountain, so I was able to get a private giant telescope tour once, which was really, really cool. Story time on it is government warning, according to the blah, 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 blah. You know the story. Oh, and the reason that we're doing this Cosmic Portal is because we're back in space, because the Fantastic fabulous FF people are doing stuff. Frank is there along with Franklin, and they can do portal stuff.
Sort of. We are in space, and that's part of it, but I went with Cosmic Portal because Johnny opens up the good old portal and takes them all into the negative zone. Which I know isn't cosmic, but Cosmic Portal, it's kind of a Cosmic Portal, you know.
What's funny about the negative zone portal now is it's just Johnny's closet. It's where he hangs his hat, so it's not really a big deal. So it's just like, yeah, we just go to the negative zone now. It doesn't matter. We can just go in.
It's still a big deal, as Alex rightfully points out.
Yeah, but when your key is a cosmic control rod, you're not in too much trouble.
Let's not talk about Johnny's rod yet. Let's go ahead and talk about this beer. It is rich with flavors of roasted hazelnuts and gourmet s'mores. The finish is sweet with lingering milk chocolate. Hops are Cascade and Equinaut. 5.4 ABV, 25 IBU. There's a lot of nifty words that are in the telling of this beer. It is brown. Kind of a nice, clear little brown color there. Well, not clear, but...
Yeah, it's translucent. I can kind of see the orchid lights through it. No bubbles really to speak of. It's brown. It's not a red brown. It's not anything. It is... Take out a brown crayon, and that's the color.
You can smell some of the little chocolate and cocoa nibs in there, but it's very faint. Yep. Very faint. Not very strong.
Very faint cocoa nib smell. Smells good. It's smelling like a nice chocolate porter, which is good. And flavor-wise...
It's pleasant.
Oh, that is pleasant. There is the porter flavor, but there's definitely also the cocoa nib flavor, which is a nice, gentle, chocolatey, velvety kind of flavor that rolls down the tongue. Yeah, it's pleasant. This is a very becoming beer. This is very good chocolate porter.
I'm getting the gourmet s'mores. I'm getting that kind of that taste in there. Not necessarily with the wood fire taste, but there's that chocolate marshmallow sweetness that you usually get with s'mores.
I think that's the velvety smooth that I'm kind of getting on the tongue.
And then with they say lingering milk chocolate. Yeah, I can see that. The nice feeling you get when you drink some chocolate milk down. Yeah, this is pleasant. This is smooth. It's not very bitter at all. It's 25% or 25 IBU, but not very bitter. It doesn't really claw at the back of your throat at all. It's just pleasant.
It doesn't make your face scrunch up. It doesn't bitter your tongue. It is a very pleasant beer. It does have that chocolate milk flavor.
Yeah.
Very much so on that, which is nice. It's not crazy heavy chocolate. We've had some chocolate stouts and porters that have been like, we are chocolate. And you're like, heck yeah, you are. Thank you. And this is like, hey buddies. Chocolate here. And you're like, hey, yeah, you are. It's pleasant. It's very competent.
Yes, very competent. Unlike Johnny Storm. See what I did there? Let's get into this now. Let's talk about this comic book. Jeff, opening credits, if you please.
FF, issue number 18, July 2012. What do you call the opposite of a field trip? Credits. Writer, Jonathan Hickman. Penciler, Nick Dragotta. Inker, Nick Dragotta. Colorist, Chris Sotomayor. Letterer, Clayton Cowles. Editor, Tom Brevoort.
Featuring The Human Torch, Valeria Richards, Franklin Richards, Dragon Man, Wu, Vil, Mick, Hor, Turg, Tong, Leach, Artie Maddox, Bentley, Alex Power. Oh yeah, Reed and Sue are here too.
I need to admit something to you, Rick. I'm glad that we've moved on from the Avengers Academy. I know we really didn't get any of those classroom scenes, but I was always afraid that we would just drop into some boring lecture at some point.
Do you want to know how I can tell that you have not really read this issue that we're about to cover?
How? How can you tell that?
By watching you open your mouth. If you will turn your attention to the first page, you will notice that the Future Foundation kids are already falling asleep during someone's lecture.
Well, look at that. Well, tell you what, why don't you give everyone a little rundown while I visually remind myself about what's in this comic book that obviously I've read because I'm a professional. And, I'll just go over that real quickly while you in-depth go over this.
Sure thing. That is why I have a co-host. All of the students are piled up watching someone yammer on about being a replacement because Reed had to do something more important than be here. All of our favorites from the past are still here. I would like to point out that Mick is wearing shades and a shirt that proclaims, "I party with Johnny." The substitute teacher is working his way up to a point, or punchline, depending on your viewpoint, finally concluding that the first choice of a sub was Ben Grimm, but he is as dumb as a bag of rocks. Unlike, like him, who is spectacularly smart substitute speaker.
This, of course, is Johnny Storm, or, as he has written on the chalkboard, El Torcho del Johnny. He is ready to take questions, and starting with the weird-looking fish kid.
Wu poses a complex equation to Johnny Storm, who briskly states that the answer is 12, which is probably not correct. Luckily, we have Jeff, our resident science boy, who can answer this question.
Oh, yeah, I could of course I can do that. You know, maybe just let me work this out with my abacus just real quick.
While Jeff deals with that, Johnny dismisses one moloid by saying they cannot use the restroom, but then gets blindsided by another asking about reproduction.
Oh, well, you know, I'm still working on the answer to the previous question, but I will move on and say that Johnny Storm is not the first person in the Marvel Universe I would ask about reproduction.
Really? Who would you ask first?
Aunt May, baby.
Do you mean from the comics or the MCU?
The MCU.
Ah, okay. Well then, we shall continue to walk across this awkward wooden bridge as Johnny totters on about people loving people, or fish loving fish, or things loving things, romance, commitment, poof, baby, wah, magic.
Tong is a bit miffed by this answer since he was actually interested in the reproduction cycle of broodlings for purely scientific reasons and probably for some freaky reasons as well. You see, moloids don't get the concept of love. They believe in the pit.
I have never heard of the concept of the pit.
Not so much of a concept, more a place where things like distance, speed, bounce, and crunch were some of the defining features. That was the place that the Thing, aka Mr. Grimm, aka the Ben, praise be his name, saved these moloids from. But if that was love and they were taken away from it, does that make them less?
How do the rest of this motley crew see love and relationships? Well, V and Wu were hatched as one of thousands, like fish. Dragon Man was built because Android Dragon, and Bentley was a fungus grown in a dark, damp place, or something. Clone a wizard and all that.
And click on the stopwatch. Yep, new personal record for this group on sinking a sub. Johnny never stood a chance.
This fiery hothead is not ready to throw in his towel. In fact, he sets his towel on fire and then grabs a beer just so that he can hand it to Alex and say, "Watch this."
Good idea, boy marches up to the portal to the negative zone. A place that has seen Johnny's butt get kicked numerous times, but which right now is his kingdom and his home address.
That would be his home address after he was kicked out of sharing an apartment with Peter Parker. That was the issue before this one, and I thought I was the world's worst roommate.
Oh, Rick, you are. But Johnny just beats you out in the 616.
Ouch. Anyway, this time Johnny promises that neither he nor anyone else will die. And this is going to be the best field trip ever.
Upon crossing the threshold, one of Johnny's administrators approaches to tell him that a revolt is occurring in one of the cities. A matter that would normally be resolved with his generals and armies, but they're inside the city with the rebels.
Hang on. Johnny Storm, the overlord of the negative zone, has just taken the kids into an active rebellion? Well, that is about what we would have expected.
And Johnny Storm is not one to drop an opportunity to show off. He will now show the kids how to quell rebellion dissent.
Can't they just watch Star Wars and call it good?
No, Rick, they can't, because this is educational, and he has given it a name. He called it Butt Kicking 101.
That's something the moloids frown at. An entry-level course load? That is so remedial.
Also feeling a little uneasy are Alex and Val. They both would feel a lot better if their big gun was here. And I'm not talking about the BFG 9000. I'm talking about something way more powerful.
Hey, that's right. Franklin's not here. Where's Little Boy Wonder at?
He is across the universe with his future self in the middle of space learning how to repair a star to keep it from going supernova.
You know, in any and every other context, that sentence would grant you an audience with a board-certified therapist.
Well, it's comic books, and it's okay because his dad, their dad, is watching them work with Sue, the Inhumans, and the Kree leadership, all looking on. Apparently, this is the sun that orbits Hala, the Kree homeworld. They are fixing the problem from the Marvels movie.
Well, good. That should conclude and resolve this epic conflict between these two races. Right?
Black Bolt charges towards the Supreme Intelligence, who is guarded by a squad of accusers, and they fight! Because of course they do.
right up until the moment that Franklin pops back into the ship. The older Frank constructs a Superman 2 crystal chamber around him and Black Bolt. Time to put the King of the Inhumans in a timeout.
Not only does this box separate the angry king from his opponents, it also cuts off the destructive powers of Black Bolt's voice so he can talk to Frank.
Now, after standing in the void of space, fixing a star, and then taking away the Inhumans' power, Black Bolt has the audacity to question how Frank would dare to do this. Frank states that he will dare to do anything he darn well pleases. Thank you very much.
He also tells Black Bolt to look at him. Really look at him.
That shuts up this mainly mute monarch.
Frank gets this destiny path that Black Bolt feels he must be on, but times they are a-changin', and it is time for Black Bolt to go back home to Earth.
Black Bolt and I remind you and Frank that it is New Hala now, not Earth. So holla if you hear me.
Look, you can call it chai tea latte if you want to. Just get your priorities straight. This backyard bickering with the Cree boys is small potatoes, man. There is like a whole buffet of trouble brewing back on Earth.
Now that Black Bolt is aware of this issue, he asks if Frank will be tying on an apron to help attack the silent gut punch.
Nope. He's gonna have to pass on this meal. There are other restaurants he's needed at.
How did we get on this food riff?
I'm writing this part of the script during lunchtime, and I skipped breakfast today.
Fair enough. Back in the negative zone, the Brainiac Squad and Johnny are at the barricaded city. The entire area is surrounded, and the rebels cannot escape. But it is sounding like they do not want to.
The rebel scum have dug in and are prepared to withstand any siege that occurs. They have also sent out a diplomat to parley.
Johnny agrees to meet and hear their demands. Since this was and is a dictatorship first run by Annihilus and now by Johnny Boy, the Unimatorch is just getting ready to unleash the pain when he gets a surprise from the representatives.
Their demands are as follows. They want free elections.
Well, darn it. How can he enjoy being an evil yet benevolent dictator if these bugs want democracy?
You think you're annoyed? What about Bentley? He wanted to punch and kill and slaughter and slay. Now he has to watch an actual Schoolhouse Rock video.
The Moloids are totally down for the people, or bugs. Bug people, rising up and demanding their voices or chirps be heard.
You cannot just create a democracy. You need to develop it from its foundation using passion, understanding, and rules. You have to construct the building blocks of this society.
Or just get Alex and Dragman and a finite number of bugs with typewriters to do it for you.
Never see how they make the sausage, man.
When you have to include in subparagraphs of what acceptable signatures are and take into account the possibility of resurrection, it gets a bit messy.
And later, the voting begins with the Future Foundation assisting with poll watching and sorting the votes, many of which contain an ungodly amount of mucus. Speaking of messy.
Much later, the results are in and tabulated. The document showing the final score is a bit shocking.
Johnny really could care less. He's kind of over this entire gig. Plus, he's pretty okay with any of the other three generals that are listed on the ballot. They are all bugmen, but they are reasonable bugmen. They never go overboard on eating their young. They don't smell too bad either. So, good leadership choices all around.
Good to know. There is just one tiny little problem, besides that the Human Torch only got 42 votes.
Ouch. Still, three-way tie, not a problem, man. They can work it out.
Worse, there was a write-in candidate.
Oh, please tell me it wasn't Bentley.
No, it's worse. They want Annihilus back with about 14,980,336,901,214 votes.
Huh. That's a much bigger number than 42.
Yep. Oh, and fun fact, you put that number in Google and the only thing that shows up is this story.
I don't believe you, Rick. Okay, I believe you now.
Okay, now that you believe me, let's go ahead and talk about this cover, which is still tripping me out. I've mentioned before that the way my eyes work, I got one eye that's a little more powerful than the other one, and this combination is perfect because with certain color combinations, it allows me to see things in 3D. It's kind of annoying sometimes, and this is one of the times, because this is a fun little cover. We've got kind of this sea of bugs or parts of bugs or stuff. It's this kind of mass of things. It's taking up the entire front of the page, and there's some pink splots that are in there, and it's this black with dark green, and you've got, I think, Bentley in the background. He's kind of grabbing onto something, pulling himself out. Valeria is being pulled down. She's got bugs crawling on her. And then right up front, we've got Frank who's not even here, but we got Franklin, and he's being drowned by this, and he's got one of these bugs right on his head, and that bug looks 3D to me, but it's in the background, so it looks like Frank's got this horrific hole in his head.
Yeah, I could see how that would be. Yeah, it's the dark green highlights with the pink parts of like eyes or tail bits or anything on the bugs. As Zap Brannigan would say, Rick has a disease called cytalexia, Kip.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is a horrifying cover for me. I think it's a horrifying cover all around.
To be swarmed and covered in a sea of bugs. Yeah,
kids drowning in bugs. That sucks.
Mm-hmm. That sucks for adults too, but yeah, it's definitely disturbing.
This is done by Kalman Androfsky, and I think that he was doing a lot of the covers before we switched over, so it's a good cover. I like it. It's fun. It's kind of getting you ready to tell you something. We're going to go into Bugland. Yeah, Franklin's not there, but I think it's representative of what's going on in this book.
Yep, and it shows that the FF kids are going to be drowning in bureaucracy on a bug universe.
Yeah, fair.
Drowning in poll watching and vote counting.
Let's get into this issue. We're back. We're back with the FF. We did skip the prior issue because that was the Spider-Man and Human Torch's roommates, which is a very, very funny issue. It's quite hilarious, but...
yeah, it's a joke issue. It's pretty good.
Goes off of something that was said during the final of the last arc where Human Torch is like, yeah, I need to get a roommate. I need to go and live somewhere. I'm going to go move in with you, Spider-Man. Peter Parker's like, hey, wait, what?
Yeah, what? Yeah, so they're roommates. The entirety of it basically is Peter dreading being in his apartment and going, okay, list of things to do as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Kick Johnny out of the apartment. He needs to go. And it just gets progressively worse as Johnny being a terrible roommate where he's like, I need to kick him out. I need to kill him and hide the body. I need to bury him in an ocean of fire.
Back in the day when Peter was younger, Peter was hating this kind of stuff too. He didn't like parties in his apartment. His apartment was where he would go to escape from the world. And Johnny is always there. He doesn't clean up after himself. Usual roommate things. He throws these big parties.
That he has Peter go and get all the supplies for. He's like, hey, I know you're in the middle of a big important meeting, but I need you to go to the store and get drinks and chips and this stuff. And then he gets back and his guests are like, oh, this is your houseboy, Johnny, right? And it's like, no, this is Peter's apartment. Yeah.
But the capper straw on the entire thing is they find a nihilist in the bathroom. And that's it. That's just it. That's it. That's done.
Yep. Yeah, and that's when Pete's just like, no, this is too far. It's done. Go on. Get out. And what's great on that is Johnny's like, yeah, I get it.
Fair enough. So Johnny is back, and he's back here as a substitute teacher because apparently Peter Parker said no.
Yeah.
The worst substitute that they could have? I mean, at least...
it depends on what they're going to be talking about. And since it seems like it's open season questions...
fixing automotive engines is about the only thing that I would really go and trust Johnny Storm on.
Along those lines, he could do some hands-on practical with him where they could be like...
how to start fires?
How to start fires, how to work a motor.
And Bentley can start fires better than Johnny Storm.
He's got a blowtorch in his room under his bed. He could get it right now. That's a quote. That is a quote.
So Johnny, wow. Okay, Johnny's a substitute teacher. Yeah.
I think they really script the barrel. And how do we think Johnny did as a substitute teacher? Was it the worst?
Yeah, it was.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Taking the kids out on a field trip, the field trip ended horribly.
Every part of it. He's supposed to teach a class. He doesn't know the kid's name. He's just like, you weird fish kid looking thing. Okay, math equation. I don't know. 12, obviously. No, you can't go to the bathroom. What do you want to know about? Reproduction. Oh, let's get into this, but I'm going to flubble around on that because I didn't let you finish your question. Okay? And he's even saying, he's like, I'm terrible at this.
Yeah, he's just
field
terrible.
Trip. Yeah. Field trip, we're doing this. And then, that falls apart. And then the field trip becomes, then it's going to be butt kicking 101. And that falls apart. Now it's create a diplomacy 101. It's just...
that might be kind of interesting, except that they knocked that out of the park too. And the negative zone wants an nihilist back.
Yeah. It's the leader that they know. They knew what they were getting with it.
It's the despot that they know.
If you say that the negative zone inhabitants they're hive creatures, it seems like maybe they need that hive structuring. Johnny's in there. He's a lot more lax, and he's just like, yeah, we're doing a thing. But it is kind of weird to see the inhabitants of the negative zone. It's like, oh, they talk. Oh, they create cities. Oh, they're having discussions and rebellions and all sorts of things going on. It's like they've been given freedom that they never had, and they're kind of running with it in directions, and they're deciding on their own, maybe this isn't quite for us. Maybe we need somebody to kind of guide the horse, because right now we just have a stable of horses running in every direction.
They don't want to have personal freedom. They want the dictatorship. That's what they want. And that's it.
Yeah, they are voting for the yoke. They wish to gird themselves in chains.
Right. And Johnny Storm will never be that because he's human and has a soul. He's a horrible leader, too, but you would think that a horrible leader would do well there. No, because he still has a soul and he still is not going to oppress these people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because if the inhabitants of the negative zone came to a nihilist and said, we want fair elections, a nihilist would have destroyed everybody.
Yeah, it would control rot him. It would just be... Johnny had even threatened that. He was just like, when the diplomacy was going on in the city, he's like, you better have something good to tell me, like, we're sorry, please don't destroy our city, because I'm really tempted to just destroy the city with a control rod.
Right. He gave them the threat and saying that I will just destroy you. And that's what a nihilist would have done. And that's the expectation that they have, because they do not want to actually have the freedom of doing anything else. I think you're right. They are bugs. It's a hive mind society. They need the controlling force to tell them what to do.
Change is hard. That's what it boils down to.
Speaking of controlling forces and change being hard, we have a little bit of an interlude here with the Krees and the Inhumans. And we have Frank, the older version of Franklin, coming in and saying, okay, look, Black Bolt, stop. You have more important things to do than this. We are resolving this issue. They will go away. You go down there and deal with what's coming. And what did you think about that entire interchange?
I feel that Black Bolt was really flippant about the fact that he got to use his voice as how he wanted to, because Frank basically says, we need to talk, puts him in a red crystal box kind of thing, and just says, you can talk freely in here, it won't hurt anything around us, and I wouldn't allow myself to be hurt by your voice anyway. That is a big power play right there, just saying, I won't allow you to hurt me with your voice, this devastating world-ending thing. Don't worry about it, I'm not going to let that happen. And the aspect that Black Bolt isn't even testing it, he's just like, how dare you? And it's like, if somebody could just do that flippantly and offhandedly, just shut you down and still wants to talk to you, maybe pay attention, because he is going off on, what do you mean change? What about this and stuff? And I like the aspect that, because he goes, how dare you? And it's Frank saying, I dare because I dare all the time. It's a character flaw that you should look at. Seriously, look at me, because Black Bolt has like cosmic awareness as well and can sense things. And if he's actually getting a chance to look at Frank and see what he is, Black Bolt's eyes got really wide and he got real quiet.
It's the idea that we have characters here who are put in a position of shut up and listen. Shut up and really listen about what's going on. Which is funny. The joke being that Black Bolt can't talk either. But recognizing the power in the room and how the power is used. Recognize the power that's there and that's being wielded. You just saw them fix a sun and then come in here and, like you said, take away his power. Yeah, give him a moment. Listen to what he's saying and try to comprehend that there's other things in the universe besides this destiny path you've been on. How's that been working for you so far?
It's the same old, same old.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're going towards death, and you've got a cheerleader squad of wives back here that are saying, go, kill yourself. Let's do time out on all this and see if there's other more important things that we should be worrying about. And there are, so.
Yeah. I like the fact that Frank was like, yeah, that's the old universe. Yeah, you and the Kree fight and one of you kills the other. Great. Things are changing across the entire universe. It's not the way that it was written. It's being rewritten anew. Get on board the rewrites.
Yeah.
Things are changing. You can just leave the old behind. The Kree are dealt with. They have a planet and a sun. They're fine. You can do other stuff.
Have you seen who's been writing this book? Hickman. You should put some faith in the guy. He knows what he's doing. Look at the cover of the book. Oh, wait. You got a lot of power, but you don't have my omniscient power. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, Black Bolt.
You're not seeing your younger self covered in bugs.
Yeah. It is nice to see the Frank and Franklin team going on. We aren't going to see, I think that's going to end at some point in time here, but it's still...
I'm sure it will.
It's still kind of cool seeing the older self teach the younger self.
Oh, yeah. It's nice to see Franklin have a caring and compassionate father figure that he can interact with.
Dang, I want to disagree with you and argue with you, but I really can't. On that note, let's take a look at the Gallery of Greatness, shall we?
Yes.
Let's take a look and see what type of art we want to put up on our bug-infested walls here in the negative zone. That's right, we're going to go ahead and spit on the back of this artwork and stick it up because mucus sticks. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's start off with some backup joke ones. Actually, my backup joke one is the diplomat spitting his signature after being told not to.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Those generals did a lot of spitting. Oh yeah, I know the one. This is where Dragonman and Alex are defining the democracy. And
yeah, they're laying out the laws. They're defining the laws. You can't spit as a signature.
It has to be written records. It's not scents. It's not pheromones. It's not rubbings. It's not spits.
Do you understand? Spit.
Spit.
We'll
take that as a yes.
Move on. That was a funny one. It's a good one to start with, and I did not mean for it to roll into that. What do you have as your backup joke one?
On page 22 of Marvel Unlimited, the top little panel, I call it, "How much?" Because this is Johnny looking at the vote tallies, and his eyes are wide, and he's just like, no! You know, he can't believe what he's seeing. So it's like going out to a nice dinner and getting your bill, and then you start seeing how much it's going to be just for the gratuity, and you're like, oh my goodness. So
I made that same look one time when I was out with one of my friends, and we've been drinking for a while, and I saw the bill, and I leaned over to somebody and said, does that say 13 Long Island iced teas and 1 martini split between me and one other guy? That was the look I had.
And then he said yes, and then you said,
yeah.
Dine and dash, dash and dine.
More like, that feels about right. Help me hold this pen because I can't. All right.
Help me call an Uber because we are walking home otherwise.
All right. My top joke one is the opening splash page, which I called Antipathy.
Oh, yeah.
It is just all of the kids listening to Johnny Storm, and they already are bored.
Bentley's asleep. There was a lot of that in here. It is great to see Jonathan Hickman characters not just standing around doing nothing, but actively sleeping through what's going on. Their participation is to just go, this doesn't involve us, and I'm just going to take a nap now.
Dragon Man looks like he's about to fall asleep. I mean, dang. Wow. Yeah.
Alex has the face of somebody who's like, yeah.
Alex has the face of somebody who's slowly chewing on coffee beans.
Like, gotta stay awake, gotta put a good foot forward. I'm number 7 on the team. Go, gonna be a long day. My top joke one is on page 21, and I call it Sleepy Babies. And this is when the votes are going on, and everybody's waiting for the votes to get tallied, except for the Moloids, who are so cute because they're on the floor sleeping. And I call them sleepy babies because I've seen my own kiddos sleep this way many times. One is back against a sofa, head tilted down asleep. Another one's curled up in the classic side sleeper pose, all hunched up in kind of a fetal position sleeping. And then my favorite one, which is where they are kneeled down on the floor, curled up in a little ball with their little baby bottom up in the air, just sleeping that way, which seems like, as an adult, the worst possible way to sleep, but I've seen my own kiddos sleep that way many a time.
No, the worst possible way to sleep is curled up on the floor, holding your severed head in your arms. That is the worst way to sleep.
A head, which at this time has no name.
All right, for my backup good art, I would like you to turn to the big old splash page where they've walked through the portal, and Johnny says, behold my rod. No, he says something else, but that's what I called it. It's the negative zone. He's holding up the rod, and it's very cool.
It's my top one. I called it Johnny's Home. It's my favorite. It's amazing. I love it.
They're coming in. You see this kind of sea of creatures, and it looks like little Ben-Day dots there, kind of in my copy. It's the top of the page. It's really awesome because you got some clouds, and it mists up into this rainbow-colored backdrop with some shadowed spires in there. It's
just
very
gothic
cool.
spires,
Yeah.
just free-hanging and just beautiful. Everything about that is gorgeous.
Yeah, they just did a great job on that one. I like that. All right, what's your backup good one?
My backup good one is on page 15 and I call it Subcity Myrrh, which is where they're going. And it's very similar to that, the Johnny coming to the negative zone. It is the far pan back, showing the walled city of Myrrh with all of its architecture going on, and the infinite starscape behind, and the flat plains in front of them, which looks very like it was paved over, is just covered with squares of Johnny's forces encircling the entire city, waiting to do siege on it. And I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. And it's very industrial architecture tech, and I love it.
Yeah, that's another good one, too. That was on my list, too, but not my top one. My top one was Kirby Crackle Black Bolt. And this is where Black Bolt starts to lose his temper, and he's got this angry look on his face, and coming kind of out of his side of his eyes in the background is just this massive amount of Kirby Crackle. It's an angry looking Black Bolt. There's a lot of good detail on it, and just, I gotta love the Kirby Crackle. It's very, very cool looking.
It's a good one. Yeah, Black Bolt always has the neat energy signature around him when he's getting ready to do stuff.
Yeah. That guy looks like he's gonna cause danger. You are not lying, sir. All right. Speaking of danger, let's take off the child safety locks and see what happens when we cause some mischief with the rubber and glue moment. What was the best or most childish insult? Well, when we're talking about Mr. Ben Grimm, the Ben, we all know he's as dumb as a bag of rocks.
Bag of rocks. That's Ben for you.
Johnny Storm doing a little rabbit punch on Ben there. Mm-hmm.
Standard Ben punch that he'll do. Yep. Yep. Preaching to the wrong choir, though, here. These kids love the Ben.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But Johnny couldn't not kick that out, because he's got to be insulting.
He's got to. Got to
insult Ben.
All right. What do you like as far as an insult there?
Page 9, it is Johnny talking to the kids, and he's like, is this still a class? Yes, it is. Are we going to have a highly informative and incredibly insightful field trip? Absolutely. However, has the subject of said class and trip changed to butt-kicking 101? Bet your big brainy eggheads on it. Let's go! At which point the Moloids are, is Professor Johnny aware that we don't have entry-level courses at our school? Something 101, embarrassing, cognitively inhibiting, remedial. Professor Richards is going to be some kind of disappointed. Thwap. And this makeup work is really going to eat into our spring break. I like just the Moloids' response to Butt Kicking 101, where they're like, no, we're advanced. We don't do entry-level courses. We're not 101 or 030 or any of those classes. No, we take high-level courses. This is just, ugh.
Yeah.
This is so beneath us.
That is a good one. But I don't think it's going to be my top one, because my top one may be the best one. My top one is the ballot that Johnny gets at the end of the issue. That's the insult. That is the insult. He lost to a nihilist by a massive number.
It's over 14 trillion. It's closer to 15 trillion than it is to 14 trillion. Yeah.
I mean, I was looking up how exactly I was going to say this. That's a lot of numbers. So yes, that was a massive insult. That was a massive, massive insult. I loved it. What a kick in the boys.
Oh, such a kick in the boys. What's great also is the fact that in the script you'd put down, if you Google search those numbers, this issue comes up, and I'm like, I wonder if it does. And I looked and I said, oh, it does. That's amazing.
When else would you use those numbers? All right, what's your top?
My top one is when they're in school and Johnny's explaining the birds and the bees to the kids, and he's like, the important thing is they do it out of love, and that's the point. And then Bentley brings it home with, and I was grown in a tube along with 40-something other versions of the wizards that were Darwinized down to just me. Only the strong survive, dude. Love sucks. Everybody else, where Johnny's just like, oh, it's all about love. And they're like,
no, love sucks.
It's not. Here's our lives. And it is not based in love. It is based on numbers and attrition. Love sucks.
Speaking of love sucking, let's talk about Parent of the Year Award. The Reed Richards Award for good parenting. And as you just said, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Moloid breeders.
Oh, okay.
Because of the 4 parenting options we heard about, I'm going to go ahead and say that's the worst. Each of them have their own problems. Bentley's got a good one there too, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the Moloid breeders, they're the worst parents of those 4 choices.
I could see that. So you're doing the Reed Richards version of this, the bad.
Yeah, that would be the bad one right there. What do you got?
I'm going to go for the Good Parent Award, and I'm going to give it to Frank with his interaction with his younger self, Franklin, with his kindly downgrading what Reed's input into their scenario was, and the fact that he gave Black Bolt a timeout.
Okay.
A come to Galactus meeting where he's like, you've got to change your ways because this old holla back at me boy situation isn't working anymore. You need to just move on.
Okay. All right. I can see it. Let's dive into the popular and shunned. I'm going to tell you my best, and my best is Frank for a lot of those reasons that you said right there, mostly for smacking some sense into Black Bolt. I really think that he was the most popular just for that. Just like, we're putting you in the box, we're going to have a chat, don't worry about the powers. I am that much.
I really was going to put him as my best as well, but I decided not to. I'm giving it to the Moloids.
Okay. All right.
They were insulted by the Butt Kicking 101 remedial course that they gave, so they were calling out teaching styles. They were all for Citizen Mick, Citizen Karn, or whatever his name is, all about free democracy and one vote, one voice, all these things. It was just really great. And also, they were the cutest things in the world when they took a little sleepy nap on the floor. Oh, I love them so much. So they were the best for me.
All right. The worst is Johnny, right?
I'm going to say Reed.
Oh, okay.
I 100% understand why you're going to give it to Johnny. Do not get me wrong.
He got whooped by an nihilist. I mean, come on.
It was very Johnny-ish, though, because everything he set out to do was just a joke.
He failed at everything in this issue.
Every turn.
Everything. He was the worst in this issue. I mean, I could see how Reed made a couple of mistakes here and there, but I'm sorry. In this issue, nobody woofed it more than Johnny.
Again, I totally understand that. My thing on it was, Reed was very bad parenting on point, because when Frank and Franklin are fixing the star, Frank's walking Franklin through his powers and how he can do it. It's like, if you can see the nuclei working in the hydrogen, you can see how that, and you can do this. And Reed jumps in with like, I fixed a handful of stars in my day. He needed to get shut down by older Frank on that.
And here's the thing, though, is that I don't think that that's necessarily bad. I think that he was trying to put his input in. Reed's not a dumb person. Reed has done this before. And him saying this to Frank and not knowing that he doesn't understand the power levels that Frank and Franklin are working at. Mm-hmm. So he's learning too. I think that it was more of a testament of Frank responding back and not doing it in a very harsh way. It was a gentle chiding. It was a gentle correcting. It could have been worse. And Reed didn't go off on it or try to say, well, but actually, Reed took it. And so I kind of see it as Reed was trying and just doesn't understand the power level that's going on there.
But then he immediately took that and flipped it over onto the Inhumans of the Kree, where he's just like, hey, look, Hala's star is fixed. Now you guys can work on peaceful things. That would be great, right?
Again.
Or you could just do what you guys normally do. Then they fight.
That's because Reed saw where this was going. Reed's like, he's like, I'm hoping that this is going to work. This is not going to work. Okay, what's the next?
I still wanted to give it to Reed. Johnny would have been a great choice. I give it to Reed.
I got problems with that.
Let it stick in your craw.
I'll argue about with you somewhere else, like in the top grades, where we're going to put this book against the rest of the issues with the member of Power Packing them that we have already reviewed. We got Fantastic Four 588, Month of Mourning, where Johnny died prior to him being alive again. And going down to spot number 13, FF number 3, What Happened to All Those Reeds? Spot number 26, FF number 4, The Beating of the Drums. How do you defeat a plethora of Reeds? Spot number 39, Runaways number 1. The Runaways are told by a Gert from the future to beware of Victor. And spot number 66, I dropped all the bottom. What Lies Beneath? Julie in the Hospital. Okay, where are we putting this one? This was a fun one.
It was pretty decent. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty decent. FF16, which is the last FF issue that we had covered, because 17 is Spider-Man and Storm as roommates. And that is when they rebuild and rebrand after the Celestial fight. And that's at spot 43.
Oh, it's better than that one.
You think this is better than that one?
Oh, yeah.
I can see that.
I'm a bit higher than this one here. Mm-hmm. I was looking at around spot number 23. We've got Fantastic Four, or FF number 11, Intelligent. Reed calls the heroes while Ronan makes a milkshake. That was fun. Above that, we've got Spider-Man 659, Fantastic Four Part 1. Below that, we've got Avengers Academy 31, where the fake fight time to let the X-Kids escape.
This does have fake X-Men fight vibes kind of going on it.
Yeah, I think this is about the right place because this is fun. It's very simple. It's very quick and done. You're moving some plot points, getting some things around where they need to, which Hickman loves doing.
Yes.
But I like the fact that this is a nice contained story where it's like Johnny at the height of his power, Johnny reduced to nothing by the end of it. I like it. So I'm actually thinking spot 24. I think that between the Avengers Academy and FF number 11.
I kind of want to push it one lower than that, but I'm good with it being in 24. That's fine. It's right. It's in the right area.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Number 24. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about this beer. Cosmic Portal, Cocoa Porter. What are you thinking about this? By Worthy Brewing.
It's still pretty good. It's getting a little bit bitterer. The chocolate milk flavor's kind of been replaced a little bit. The cocoa nib smell, when you put your nose to it, that's still there. That's pleasant. It's a decent beverage. It's quite enjoyable. I like it. It's not the most amazing thing, but it is one of the better porters that I've had. I want to give it a good strong 4.
I'm bouncing a little bit between 4 and 3.5. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I could easily sit down and drink this many, many times. It's a little bit watered down for my taste. It doesn't have a lot of the really heavy flavors that I have. If I'm drinking a porter or a stout, I kind of want it to come in and...
You want to be able to chew on it.
Yeah, I want it to give me a little something. It's kind of like it's just passing by. So I want to give it a 3.5, I think, because it's good. I would drink it easily. It's just, I want a little bit more.
I get that. I also want a little bit more from it. I would like more chocolate. I just find it's very easy to drink, which is beneficial on its own. You have a sip and you can kind of not think about it, but if you do, you're going to go, oh yeah, that's pleasant. And then you can move on with your day. So I enjoy it for that.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Yep. Another thing that I enjoy, though, is Kids' Perspective, and that is where Rick talks to his 13-year-old daughter, Carrie, about the book that we just covered. So, Rick and Carrie, take it away.
Hello, Carrie.
Hello, Daddy.
We're back. We're back in Future Foundation Fantastic Four Land. Woohoo! Hello, Jonathan Hickman.
It only took us a bit to get back, but we're here.
We're here. And what do we got this issue?
We got Substitute Johnny Storm.
That's correct. We also got lots and lots of bugs, right?
Yep, but most of the bugs are nice.
Well,
kind
sure.
of. They're in command to him or whatever.
They're subservient to him because he's got the command rod, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What's the outcome? What's the ending of this?
Annihilus. He wins this, candidate voting thing.
The bugs won an election, right?
Yeah.
They write in a candidate, right?
Yeah.
And that candidate is Annihilus.
Isn't that the guy who, killed Johnny Storm?
And that's the guy who killed Johnny Storm. That's the guy who's been taunting Reed Richards. And that's the guy who Johnny Storm beat to take over the negative zone. And all of the creatures of the negative zone want him back as their leader.
Which is fair, because they want to be evil again.
Sure.
I guess. They didn't want a human to be ruling them or anything. No, that's lame. That's for beings of the earth.
To be fair, they probably just didn't want Johnny Storm being their leader.
Yeah. Bringing all these nasty kids in there especially? Wow, that's so mean.
Yeah. And where was Franklin during all this?
With the Inhumans, with his older self, and they made a sun.
They fixed the sun.
I didn't mean that. They fixed the sun together, and they're like, oh, it's just so easy. And then that makes Reed Richards mad because he's like, it's really not. And they're like, no, you're joking, dude. It's actually the easiest thing on Earth. Wow. Actually, in the galaxy, I meant.
If you have powers that you can create universes, yes, it is pretty easy.
And he's mad because now he's not his son is just really powerful.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah, that happens. That can happen. I'm waiting for the day when you become more powerful than me and take over the world.
With cats.
Oh, God. All right.
Everybody will be a cat. There's going to be a cat president. There's going to be cat governors.
No, I'm done.
No, everything cat. And,
I'm done.
And there's going to be whole new, yeah, it's going to be great. And after I'm done with Earth, the universe.
Is there anything else in this book that you want to talk about besides cats? Because there's no cats in this book.
You want to talk about the cover?
Oh, I've mentioned the cover a lot earlier with Jeff. It kind of creeped me out just because my 3D vision kind of thing, but it kind of creeps you out too?
Yeah.
Why?
That face on Val is actually the scariest thing.
Yeah, but none of that happened.
It never happened, no.
No, they didn't want to fight. They didn't want to try to destroy things. They wanted a fair election.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they got.
Yep. Okay, sorry, you can wrap up now.
Thank you very much for your time, Carrie.
You're welcome.
I love you.
Love you too.
Really, Carrie? I wouldn't have expected you to have that feeling about democracy and voting.
Shout out time! We like to recognize those listeners who take some time to write in and leave us a review. This is for episode 163, Avengers Academy number 37, Final Exam, Part 4. There's a lot of words I just said. But we got some likes from people like Andrew Burns,
Clinton Robeson and their podcast Fan Film Fridays and Coffee and Comics,
Colin Stapleton and their podcast, The Worst Comic Podcast Ever,
Hoover Jeremiah,
Jeff Bollier,
Jeremy Daw,
and Sean Ross. We also like to thank those people who give us a couple of nickels to rub together so we can keep doing the show for you. And that includes some wonderful people like the adorably astonishing and amazing Andrew Burns,
cheerfully cheeky and charming Char Logan,
challenging cheesy and chuckling Charles Gears,
destructive and devastatingly delightful Damian Witter,
dynamically dangerous and devious Doug Jones,
intelligent, interesting, and innovative Isaac Perry,
jesting, joking, and jovial Jeff Bollier,
just jealous and jeweled Jeremy Daw,
muscly, mighty, and meticulous Matthew Birdsey,
mythical and magnificent monologuing Matthew Laserwitz,
steely, salty, and steamy Sailor Bear Zodar,
sad and sickeningly silly Shag Matthews,
tyrannically terrifying and tame Tim Price,
way wordy and wobbly Waffles. Next issue, we're going to be covering Fantastic Four, issue number 607, Inert.
Be sure to check out my daughter's comic strip on our website. Just search for Jeff and Rick Present Tales of Tales.
And we have some merchandise available on Redbubble. Go to redbubble.com and search for Unpacking the Power of Power Pack.
Jeff and Rick Present is a bi-weekly self-produced podcast recorded in front of a live studio audience of my legs, which I have destroyed over the past couple of days in Portland, Oregon. If you would like to interact with us through the magic of the internet, you can do so through Blue Sky at Jeff and Rick Present, our Facebook page, Jeff and Rick Present, our email address, jeffandrickpresent, all one word, at gmail.com, or at our website, jeffandrickpresent.wordpress.com. Also, we got a YouTube channel at Jeff and Rick Present.
And if you would like to help support our show, we are on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com, Jeff and Rick Present, all one word. We are also a proud supporter of the Hero Initiative, and will be donating 10% of our Patreon donations to this great cause. We encourage everyone to give what they can to this worthwhile organization that helps the creators who provide us with such great content. Go to heroinitiative.org to find out more.
Please rate and review us wherever you can. Tell your friends about us or share your love for us on social media.
And as always, we want to thank the powerful people in our packs.
My wife Cindy and our daughter Carrie.
My fiancée Hillary and our daughter Aurora.
We love you.
Until next time, costumes off.
Our theme music is 80s Action by Kevin MacLeod. Also featured in this episode is Rise of Legends by Sasha Ende. All music is found at Incompetech.com and is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license.
One, by watching you open your mouth. If you will turn your... No, let me try again.
Words are hard.
New personal record for this group on a sinking... One second. And click on the stopwatch. Yep. New personal record for this group on sinking a subs...
Words are hard.
Here we go.
Words are hard.
Frank gets his... I was actually on here doing some editing when I saw you change, like, royalty to monarch or something. Like, oh, I should type something to Rick. And he's gone.
Words are hard.
Now that Black Bolt is aware of this issue, he asks if Frank will be tying on an apron to help attack this silent gun punch. I gotta do it.